From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Coming up on AgDay, reducing the risk of African swine fever by focusing on feed.
Our goal has been to understand what's the risk of feed for other foreign animal diseases.
We check out some of the top ag tech at this year's Consumer Electronics Show.
Farmers are consumers too. We just happen to have the biggest gadget on the show.
And the total is in when it comes to the weather costs of 2019. Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. It's official, 2019 will go on record as one of the wettest and costliest years because of the weather. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration says losses from the 2019 Arkansas, Missouri, and Mississippi River floods alone totaled $20 billion. AgDay National reporter Betsy Gibbon joins us from the newsroom. Betsy, you have some new numbers that put things in perspective here.
Well, Clinton, NOAA has 14 different major weather events which occurred in 2019, and each one totaled more than $1 billion in losses. But if you look at the map, the events which occurred along the Arkansas River, Mississippi River, and Missouri River, all three of those combined have a total loss of $20 billion. That's almost half of the $45 billion total in losses which occurred between all of these events.
And we've seen an increasing trend in the number of these billion-dollar inland flooding disasters during the 2010s. So we're keeping an eye on that as well.
While NOAA looks into the flooding trends, some farmers I've interviewed allege poor water management by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers may be why flooding is also occurring along the Missouri River. The Corps vocal about saying 2019 was a wet year, and its focus is to protect life and mitigate risks from flood events. NOAA also saying 2019 was the second wettest year on record behind 1973. And get this, between the 2 years, there's only less than an inch difference. In fact, Gleason says it's about 0.2 of an inch difference. Clinton?
All right, thanks, Betsy. This could move markets today. The final report on 2019 production out from USDA. Many analysts wondering if USDA will finally lower its planted and harvest acreage numbers for both corn and soybeans amid that wet planting and harvesting year.
This is the final crop production report for 2019 corn and soybeans in the U.S. And we could see some revisions here. 2019 was a very difficult year for farmers, presented a lot of challenges. We saw late harvest, we saw late planting, we got crops that are still in the field in some areas of the north. So it's going to be very difficult for USDA to pinpoint the size of these crops, maybe even in this report.
Allendale releasing its own numbers, lowering planted and harvested acres for both corn and soybeans. It's also lowering ending stocks with corn, soybeans, and wheat. Just as soon as we get those numbers, we will pass them along to you online and look for continued analysis Monday right here on AgDay. China is now confirming it will sign a Phase 1 trade deal with the U.S. next week. The Commerce Ministry announcing Vice Premier Liu He will travel to Washington on Monday and then sign the interim trade deal on Wednesday. Under the deal, China has agreed to buy more American farm products, with U.S. officials putting that number at $80 billion over 2 years. But China has not confirmed any specific numbers when it comes to those ag buys. We're told the 86-page, 9-chapter agreement will be publicly released after it's signed. Washington has also agreed to postpone additional planned tariff hikes on Chinese imports. When that trade deal is signed, what will that mean for U.S. farmers and further trade aid payments? The last installment of Market Facilitation Program payouts is scheduled to be made either this month or early February. But Farm Journal Washington correspondent Jim Wiesmeyer reports his sources say USDA Secretary Sonny Perdue has not pushed for them to be paid. Now, it's believed some of the Trump administration want to see how the Phase 1 deal with China unfolds before making a final decision. The crisis in Iran deepened in the last 24 hours, with multiple news sources reporting that U.S. officials are confident Iran shot down a Ukrainian jetliner. That crash happening a short time after Iran launched a missile attack on U.S. targets earlier in the week. The strike in retaliation by Iran for President Trump's order to kill Iran's top general outside Baghdad's airport. President Trump saying there were no U.S. casualties in the missile attack, but the plane crash killed 176 people. 138 of the passengers on the flight were connecting to Canada. AgriTalk's Chip Flory speaking to AgDay, saying the biggest concern for producers right now is the possible disruption of the flow of crude oil out of the Mideast, which could push the cost of gas, heating fuel, and electricity higher. But Flory also speaking with a man well versed in U.S. dealings with Iran, retired Marine Corps Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North. North telling AgriTalk the threat from Iran is much bigger.
Nuclear weapons in the hands of people like the Ayatollah Khamenei, who's running the place today, or being influenced by people like Soleimani, which it was, the nuclear program is being protected by the Quds Force. Those pose threats to everything that we know is right and orderly in this world. I can tell you right now, it doesn't matter if they hit Boston or Bangor, Maine, or Baltimore, or it hits 50 miles offshore. If they fire a nuclear weapon and it goes off in the atmosphere, it's going to change the world we're living in.
So far, Iranian officials have blamed the plane crash on mechanical trouble. A widespread storm is now setting its sights on a good portion of the country. Meteorologist Mike Hoffman is tracking it and joins us with the latest. Mike.
Yeah, this is the first one of 2019, Clinton, and it's going to be a pretty impressive one. I wanted to show you both the total rainfall amounts and total snowfall amounts laid over top of each other. So some of that area from Oklahoma to northern Illinois is going to get heavy rain and then some heavy snow. Kind of impressive there. But just look at the amounts. All the red areas are 3, 4, 5 inches. All the dark purple are 4 to 8 inches of snow. And believe it or not, Harvest 2019 still going on. That's right. Look at this video shared by Justin Hebert of Port Rowan, Ontario, Canada. They said they finally finished up harvest at 1 a.m. Thursday morning. Amazing to think it's still going on. I'll have more on your forecast coming up.
Deere & Company says it will reduce costs and increase investment in data-driven ag technology and its services business in an effort to increase profits. That's according to CEO John May. The company aims to increase its profit margin to 15% by 2022, up from a projected mark of 12.5% from last year. And some of that future ag technology is on display right now at the CES show in Las Vegas. And while CES typically focuses on gadgets, TVs, and technology, John Deere is also on hand showing off its technology to the market. From sprayer demos to self-guidance and automation, John Deere rolling big at CES this week. This is their second year in a row that they've participated in the event. The company says it's a great way to talk about agriculture and farming to the broader tech community.
It's important to educate the mainstream community of technology and just mainstream overall about what agriculture really is, how important it is to the world and to food production, and how technology can play a key role in helping farmers achieve those levels of productivity. Side benefits of that, maybe it engages, some younger tech talent in helping solve agricultural problems. It engages other companies that are interested in helping world problems in agriculture. So really just getting the story out there and engaging the tech community, we feel is a benefit, not just for John Deere, but for all of ag.
Sanchez says they get a lot of specific questions about cameras, sensors, data, and processing power. They've also had a lot of questions about autonomous equipment. Monday on AgDay, we'll take a look at how Deere researchers think you'll be able to use 50 to 90% less herbicide on farm in the near future. Cattle markets have been something to smile about recently. We'll take a look at the market and whether that rally can continue to roll. We have that next. And later, researchers work to unlock the secrets surrounding African swine fever.
Precision Planting Winter Conference 2020. Sessions to help you maximize your farm. January 21st through the 24th. Visit bpwinterconference.com to register for this free event.
In markets Thursday, major grains in the red ahead of Friday's report, while wheat prices found room to run. We get details now on the floor of the CME.
We came into the session with a little bit of a bid in corn and beans, but giving that up, 385 to 386 has been our pivot pocket. This is kind of the middle of the range from the last month. We're now trending a little bit lower going into tomorrow's USDA report. We like soybeans. I don't know that you got to be a buyer right here, right now. We're looking for a little bit more of a break. There's some technical support that's been holding well this week, 933 3/4 to 937. This was resistance back in the middle of December. It has been support since then. If we were to break down below here, I think that would lead to a whoosh towards 920, 925. At that point, I think there's value in soybeans. That represents the key Fibonacci retracement, 100-day moving average, as well as the 200-day moving average, and I think represents pretty good value here looking out over the near to intermediate term. This has been Oliver Slope with Blue Line Futures from the floor of the CME.
Here in studio today, we have Chris Robinson, TJM Institutional Services. Chris, let's talk about the cattle market because, you know, like some of our other grain commodities, we've seen a pretty good run, but boy, cattle have been strong, especially in the last quarter here.
Yeah, just an amazing, great rally. I think a lot of people were surprised. And what a turn. We were, you know, when we bottomed out there in September, you know, people were very upset. We were in their 10-year lows. You know, if you go look at a chart of live cattle, you know, it was looking pretty dismal. So to have the type of powerful rally we've had, it's been demand driven. You know, there's some feeling out there that I think things got way, way overdone. And even though we had a couple neutral to maybe a little bit bearish cattle on feed reports, the market shrugged it off. So are we going to have, you know, a rush back to where we were in 14, 15 when we had, you know, much higher prices? It's a possibility. The one good thing that I like about this market is the financial community's behind it once again. For a while there, they were buying 10,000 contracts a week. Just they couldn't get enough every week. So they're long right now, a chunk, and they still have more, you know, powder to go and more checks to write if they want to buy more. And the interesting thing that I watch, sometimes these markets are interconnected. You've got record highs in the stock market. And there's a good correlation between the stock market and cattle market. And that's something I think people are looking at. So as we head into 2020, you may see more money coming out of the stock market and into physical commodities. And that could be a real blessing for ranchers.
Yeah, you know? And I did like what one thing you said is that it was demand driven because you know that feels like maybe there is some basis, a floor underneath this thing. And we know we've sent more cattle off to slaughter last year than we thought we would.
Right, and it's interesting with all the talk in social media about, you know, meat replacements and all this type of stuff. I think that people are starting to realize that there's going to be a place for the people that want to eat meat substitutes, and there's going to be always going to be good demand for our beef. And at the end of the day, I think it's going to be like you're going to have regular coffee and decaf coffee. You're going to have something for everybody. So I think a lot of people were worried that this would be a bigger impact. And again, when a market gets bad news, which obviously that is, and continues to rally, that's a sign that there's some good strength there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it'll be a fun one to watch in 2020. Hopefully that strength continues. Appreciate it. We'll be back with more Ag Day coming up here in just a minute.
To sign up for a free trial of Chris's market newsletter, visit therobinsonreview.com or call him directly at 312-638-8868.
Meteorologist Mike Hoffman taking a look at our national weather here, Mike, and it doesn't look super impressive right now, but this storm is coming.
Yeah, and a lot of times they don't coming across the southern Rockies, but once they pick up that Gulf moisture, everything changes. But as we start this morning, you can see it is located over eastern Arizona, southwestern portions of New Mexico, with some rain and snow. There's already rain flowing up along this cold front that's going to become a stationary front up across the southern Great Lakes, central Mississippi Valley. We have another decent storm system coming into the Pacific Northwest that will be coming through the northwestern portions of the country as well. So let's put the maps into motion. As this storm moves eastward, it starts to intensify, really picks up some moisture there for central Texas, central Oklahoma. That's good news for those areas. There's been some drought conditions, obviously, over the last year in parts of that area. And it looks like this is going to put down some moisture in that neck of the woods. You can see the stationary front then on up toward northern Indiana, and that front's going to make a big difference in exactly where the rain, snow, and maybe even a little bit of sleet and freezing rain in between does occur with this system. But it really is one of those things where the models have been fairly consistent, but a change of 3 or 4 counties can make a change where you live if you're anywhere close to that front. So keep that in mind. There's that storm system in the Pacific Northwest with rains and mountain snows. Let's head on through the nighttime hours tonight as we head into the weekend. There's 7 a.m. Saturday storm system by our model is expected to be over eastern Oklahoma or western Arkansas at that point. These are perhaps heavy and maybe severe thunderstorms eastern parts of Arkansas into Louisiana, so something to watch there. The orange area could be a little sleet and freezing rain to the north of that stationary front, and then you can see the storm system moves on up towards Chicago as we head through the end of the day Saturday with some thunderstorms from central Kentucky, eastern Tennessee, all the way down through Alabama, the panhandle of Florida, and snow, Iowa into northern Missouri, and also some snow back in the Rockies. There's the rainfall estimates over the past 24 hours. We'll add on the next 36. You can see a lot of rain across the central eastern portions of the country anyway. Mississippi Valley, Ohio Valley. Snowfall amounts, kind of the same idea. You can see the heaviest amounts are going to be to the northwest of the main storm system. Now, very cold to the north, a lot milder to the south, some amazing temperature differences as we head through tomorrow afternoon. It's going to be in the 70s in Cincinnati, single digits over the northern plains. So there's the jet stream. There's that storm system right there as we head through Saturday. That goes away. Arctic air tries to come in, but it doesn't look like it goes very far south as we head through next week. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. We'll head to Crescent City, California. First of all, cloudy and breezy, some afternoon rain, high of 51. Shreveport, Louisiana, cloudy and mild, a shower or two, high 74. And Akron, Ohio, periods of rain and cloudy, high around 53 degrees.
There is still no vaccine against African swine fever, but researchers are continuing to learn more about this deadly disease, the latest on what it could mean for feed. Next. Researchers are continuing to look into African swine fever, and they're finding the half-life of the disease in feed is longer than originally thought. Kansas State researchers say that can be a problem with feed coming from other countries.
African swine fever virus is currently circulating in China and several other Asian countries. Because there is no vaccine and no treatment, the focus of our research has really been to understand the risk and then ways that we can put in mitigation strategies to reduce the risk. So since the introduction of PEDV and the recognition of feed as a potential risk, our goal has been to understand what's the risk of feed for other foreign animal diseases. And the biggest one at this time point for pigs, really, and animal health globally is African swine fever. One of the most interesting things about the study that we found was that all of the half-lives in feed and feed ingredients were longer than the half-life that we calculated in media, which is what's used in tissue culture and in the lab to support the virus. And so what we ultimately found was that these feed and feed ingredients have the composition, the protein content, the moisture content that increases stability of the virus when compared to that media. So we can put, multiple steps in place, which is the best way to really reduce the risk. So sourcing your ingredients locally is ideal. If that is not possible, looking at low-risk ingredients for importing or low-risk countries of origin for importing. Putting in these procedures for potentially storage time. The other mitigation strategies that we're currently researching is looking at, is there a temperature that we can utilize to increase the speed at which the virus decays in feed ingredients? And also there are several antiviral chemical mitigants that we're looking at for potential feed additives to, again, reduce the risk of the virus being transmitted.
Coming up, a new event for students interested in ag. Hear what the Pine Tree Classic is all about next. The Pine Tree Classic sounds like a golf tournament, right? But there will be no putters at the University of Arkansas at Monticello. That's happening January 18th. Instead, there will be livestock, veterinary equipment, and forestry contests. This competition is geared toward FFA high school students. Reporter Lon Teagle is telling us all about this new event that provides students interested in ag and forestry a chance to compete in 10 disciplines at the college. There will be livestock, horse, poultry judging, along with ag mechanics, forestry, land, and farm business management. Now, if you're interested, registration starts at 9 a.m. on the 18th at the University of Arkansas at the Monticello campus. And while we're talking about events, be sure to join us for our own event in Chicago later this month, January 27th through the 30th for Top Producer Summit. It's a joint event including Top Producer Seminar, Executive Women in Agriculture, tomorrow's Top Producer, the Legacy Project, and a Hemp Summit. Register at tpsummit.com. Early bird prices are still active through Monday. I'll be there. Come join us. That's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. For all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.